You know what? Let me say this while it's on my mind. So I'm getting sidetracked. I'm trying to get this streaming stuff going. But I need to say this before I forget, because it's important. I'm going to hit me on game. Okay? How do you continue to grow and grow and grow and get successful? It's very simple. Okay? You have to begin to approach your life from the standpoint that God wants you to win. It's that simple. You have to adopt that approach that God wants you to win, that God wants you to be successful. It's not enough for me to tell you that that's what God wants for you. You have to understand it. You have to digest it. You have to find the evidence that supports what I'm trying to communicate to you. And it won't take much for you to see, like, man, God really do want me to win. If that could ever become your default method, your default approach to life, that you approach life knowing that God wants you to be successful and God wants you to win, then you'll be living 10 times better than you currently live. And the main reason why is because all of those things that you are afraid to do now, those things where it's like, wouldn't it be nice if, but there's a degree of uncertainty and fear kind of all lumped into it. And so it paralyzes you and prevents you from taking action. Right? So it keeps you in the same loop of just doing the same safe stuff over and over and over again. And it's almost like inflation, right? So $1 in 1970 would buy you less than $1, like it buy you less than $1 today because of inflation. So when you become stagnant in your mind, life as a whole, it keeps growing. It keeps developing and growing and developing all these branches, but you'll gradually get further and further behind because you're not growing with life, right? And most of the time you're doing that because of all of these imaginary reservations that you have that keep you from doing or attempting to do the things that could allow you to grow along with life. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me questions in the comments. I'll be glad to flesh this out because it's so enamored in me that, I might think that I'm simplifying it, but I might not actually be simplifying it. But you can, act as if you can approach life, your relationships, knowing that God wants you to be in a beautiful, successful relationship, whether it's with a significant other, with your children, with your parents, etc. Your finances, so it's like maybe you come to the realization that your current job isn't going to get you where you want to be, but you've always daydreamed about starting some type of business, right? Okay, well, if you approach that business from the standpoint that God wants you to have this business and wants you to be successful in it, right? That in itself should be enough fuel to get started. That should be enough fuel to begin doing your research and investigations and all of these other things and just letting all of it come together until you end up where you are, right? If it's living in a different neighborhood than you currently live in, a different city, a different country, right? Whatever, right? Just approaching it from that standpoint, like God wants me to be successful for this, and it takes a while. It's a different way of operating. Like, I'm not going to say that you're going to instantaneously arrive. But if you keep doing it and keep doing it, you're going to get more and more enamored in it. You're going to get some wins. Those wins are going to boost your confidence and allow you to try bigger and greater things. And once you get to that point, now you know that you're on the right track. You got the recipe for success now, right? Which is, you know, there is some patience involved. You know, there's some risk involved. You know, there's some uncertainty involved, right? You know these things right off the rip, but you're not intimidated by it. You're still going to go ahead and make that approach. You're still going to go ahead and attempt to get that off the ground. You don't really need a coach to tell you that, you don't. All this, it comes from you. It comes from you. And I guarantee you, when you get tired of your situation, like truly tired of your situation, where you really want your situation to change, you'll find the motivation, you'll find the resources, you'll take the risks necessary in order to do whatever it is you're trying to do. A lot of people just really don't get to that point where they truly want their lives to improve and get better. They rather fuss and complain about their situation than to actually try to take some type of action toward improving their life, improving their health, improving their outlook on life, improving their financial situation, etc. All the things that almost everybody under the sun wants to improve, but you can look around and you can see the evidence. You can see other people taking a little bit of control over their life and influencing the direction that their life goes in, right? And then see them achieving results. And you might sit back and be like, well, why is it that happening to me? It's because each and every one of us as individuals are responsible for influencing the direction that our lives go in. Nobody else truly has influence over the direction of another person's life. We can talk, we can advise, we can coach, we can do all of these things till we're blue in the face. But it's up to the individual, it's up to you to get that understanding, right? So it's one thing to know, it's another thing to understand. Understanding usually includes action. How many times have you heard something? It's like, yeah, I know that. And it's like, okay, if you know that, then why haven't your life changed? Right? Like, why haven't you put it into action? Oh, I don't know. So understanding is the merger of knowledge and action. That's where you marry them two together, and that's where things really begin to take up off the ground. That's where, man, now you flying high because you know what to do and you're actually doing it. Because I can't live your life for you. I can't understand for you. I can only understand for me. I remember my days of ignorance when I did not understand how to influence my life and give it direction. But I was diligent day and night, even while I was sleeping. Try any way that I could understand how to give my life direction. I just stayed on it, and then eventually I began to understand how to influence my life. And then I started hitting, I guess, these mental milestones where I start breaking up these blockages in my thinking, these limitations in my thinking, lack of self-confidence, and all of these other things. Start dealing with these issues. And then began to grow and grow and grow. It's growing in stature, not growing in external things like, oh, my bank account went to $1 million or it went to $2 million. Like, those things have not happened yet. If they happen, great. If they don't, I'm still good, because what truly grew is my faith in God, right? So it's like, it doesn't, you can have a lot of external stuff, and then you can lose your faith in God, right? Having these things like, okay, I'm calm because I got this much money in the bank. I'm calm because I got all this income coming in. I'm calm because I'm married to this person or whatever. Like, you know, your ability to handle yourself, your trust in yourself, your confidence in yourself is all based on all of these external circumstances. It's not rooted in who you are in God. It's not rooted in your understanding of who you are and how powerful you are, right? So it's all misguided. You lose that person, you lose that money, you know, whatever. Then what happens to the confidence? What happens to the trust, right? So you have to build that solid foundation first, where you know that all gifts come from God. It ain't a you thing. You didn't earn much of anything. You didn't have no control over the parents you were born into. You didn't have any control over the house you lived in, the city you lived in, what your parents did and did not know, what they did and did not teach you, right? You didn't have control over the schools you went to, right? You didn't have control over so many aspects of your life, right? But these events kind of molded and turned you into the individual that you are. It's kind of like an automatic default mode of living. And so the average person's goal is to break out of that default mode of living, realize where true power lies, right? And begin to cooperate with that power so that they can have influence over the direction of their life. That's really, in a nutshell, what everybody wants. It's not the riches. It's not the fame and celebrity. It's not having super big houses and many houses and fancy cars and many cars and all of the girls or all of the guys. It's not that. That's superficial. When you build yourself up right and when you know where true power truly comes from, all of them things can be stripped away from you and you will remain who you are. You will remain a good person. You will remain optimistic. You will remain level-headed and objective. You won't go blaming God and all of this other foolishness that people do, right? You won't do that. And by doing that, you can reinvent yourself over and over and over again. If you look in the Bible, it talks about Job, a man that built himself up the right way and acquired a ton of riches. And then he lost a lot of the things that he had. But he knew where the power came from. He knew. His own wife tried to get him to speak against the power, right? His friends tried to get him to speak against the power. But he had that understanding. And what happened? Over time, he got all of those things back. He got it all back. And some more, right? So that's not in the Bible for no reason. You know, it's not. It's like, ain't nothing wrong with having money. Ain't nothing wrong with having a nice house. Ain't nothing wrong with car. Ain't nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But you cannot wrap your identity in these things And you cannot base your being on these things, whether you're happy or whether you're sad. You can't allow these external things dictate your approach to life. Your approach to life should be consistent no matter what is in your life. And that is that, God, the power of God that abides inside each and every individual. There's nobody that don't have the power of God inside of them. It's just a matter, it's like this varying chart. You got some people that rely on God heavily, right? Then you got people that don't acknowledge the presence of God, the power of God at all. And when I say God, you can replace God with whatever sound you want. It's just that understanding that you are not in control of anything, that there is a intelligence that is far greater than what any individual or group of individuals could comprehend, that's kind of influencing the direction that everything goes into. Our job is to cooperate with this intelligence, seek this intelligence for guidance so that we can navigate our life properly. And you have to understand that this intelligence wants you to win. This intelligence wants you to be successful. But you have to cast yourself to the side. You can't embrace you and merge with it. You know how we approach God. I want, I need, so on and etc. In reality, God already is aware of your true desires. So you really don't have to communicate your true desires. They're already known to God. When you try to generate these desires and pursue these desires, your attempts oftentimes clashes with what God is trying to do. So you're trying to do something and God is trying to do something. And so you oftentimes might look at the things that God is doing as not right. Like, you don't even realize it's God setting things up. So you don't treat it the way that you should. But when you let go of your approach of doing things and allow yourself to be open and flexible to the way that God does things, then you can start to flow and make progress. A lot of times, things that on the surface look like it's working against us is actually ushering us toward where we say we want to go. And that's the one thing that fools many people, right? That fools a lot of people. Not understanding that challenges and difficulties are oftentimes put in place to stop us from doing something destructive and to navigate us towards something that's productive. But you'll kick and you'll fight and you'll try to outthink it and do all of these different things with little to no effort until eventually you might actually truly break through and get your way. And then you think you are closer to where you want to be. And then over time you realize that you actually force yourself into a dead end, or you force yourself into something that was destructive. So, it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not. But if you would commit yourself to this, you'll be surprised how quickly you begin to obtain the desires of your heart. And then over time, you won't really have many desires. You won't have many desires. Your desires will grow. You can't just keep wanting forever. You know, it's like, do you have any desires about the direction of humanity? Right? You see all of these injustices and various things going on. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about these things? It's like, okay, I got the house on the hill. I got the nice car. I got the significant other of my dreams. It don't stop there. Like, don't you want everybody to have these things? Right? Don't you want there to be cooperation amongst humans instead of division and separation? Right? What about having those desires? What about using the law of attraction to get these imaginary boundaries turned down? To get all of this imaginary opposition quelled? You know, what about imagining better leaders leading and guiding our country with a humanity first approach instead of a business and money and all of this other stuff first approach? Right? Like, the power of our mind, like, we should be building up the power of our mind. We should be using the power of our mind to build ourselves up and provide the evidence that we can go beyond just self-improvement, right? And that we can actually branch off into helping our fellow man, right? That's the goal. That's always the goal. You know, you work on yourself, you lab on yourself. So when you get started, don't worry about trying to save the world. It's never really about saving the world anyway. Like, I don't think you'll ever get to a position where you can save the world. So don't even worry about that. But you can save yourself. You can lab on yourself. You can try these, you can experiment with you. Provide yourself the evidence first. And then once you begin to get stronger and realize that this is real, and that this is doable, and that this is repeatable, right? Then you can begin to share your discoveries with others. And you can communicate it to others in a way where they understand and they can actually duplicate the same system and the same processes. This is not something that you get rich off of. This is not something that requires coaching and all of the other things that is normally presented to people. It don't require that. It does not. The truth, the undisputed truth, and when I say the truth, I just mean the actions that can be done over and over and over and over and over again without fail, right? It's very simple. Very simple. So I just gave you one. I just gave you one at the beginning, right? I said, if you would begin to approach your life as if God wants you to succeed, then you will 10x your life. And then I went on to explain why it works. Because it will give you the confidence to do the things that you are currently afraid to do. And most of the things that you are afraid to do will actually give you the gains that you desire to have. Right? Right? You know, it goes all the way back to that biblical principle. You have not because you ask not. You know, and we all at various parts in our life. Some people believe for very little. Some people believe they deserve very little. Some people believe that they can only do very little. They're looking at self, not looking at God. They're looking at the body and the abilities of the body, and not looking at the power that actually makes the body function. Because that power does more than make the body function. It does significantly more. It's something that you can trust in without fail, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, as long as this body is alive. You can trust and trust and trust and trust and trust, and it'll never let you down. Never. So peace.